Hey, welcome to another video from SkinnyMedic. One of the questions I get asked quite a bit is about improvised tourniquets, how to make different tourniquets, things like that. So that's what I wanted to address in this video. I want to talk about using just a t-shirt to make a tourniquet. I'm going to show you two different ways that I think would probably work in a bad situation. I'm not going to use my t-shirt. I don't want to show off my dad bod. So I'm going to pull his t-shirt off and show you a couple different ways to make a tourniquet. Alright, since you're probably not going to have your EMT shears on you, since you don't have a tourniquet, then you're going to have to take the shirt off. So be very careful when cutting the shirt. You don't want to cut the victim. So just be super cautious when you go to cut the victim's shirt off. You need to cut it off to get more length on it. Just be super cautious. You can rip it, tear it. If you want to cut it with your pocket knife, just be careful and don't cut your patient. Alright, so I went and cut the victim's shirt completely off of him now. So you have the sleeves cut off and the torso cut off. So now you've got a big, wide, nice piece of cloth that we can use. So one of the things we can do is for like an arm, I think this would work well. For a leg, possibly if you had a larger t-shirt. This is a medium, so getting larger t-shirts, obviously you're gonna have more material to work with. But for an arms, I think this would definitely process may work. It's probably honestly more like a pressure bandage if I had to talk about it. But I think it would absolutely work, and it's probably easy to work for the average person. So you've got your brachial artery running right through here. So there again, I would put pressure right here, have a bystander, or you put your knee, hold pressure down here to try to get that blood flow to stop. You've got people that are willing to help you. Get them to hold pressure right here or on the wound to get them to slow down the bleeding while you're trying to improvise a tourniquet. So my idea here is to make a loop. So you've got all your material long ways, run it around. So you got two ends coming here. You've got your loop that you've made, pull through, and now you've got kind of a ratcheting system here that you can work with. Now, like I said, I think this is probably more of a pressure bandage than a tourniquet, but you've got a wide bandage here. So the wider the bandage, the more easily it is to occlude blood flow. So the narrow stuff takes more pressure to cut off blood flow because you're trying to collapse the muscle mass around. So now that we have a nice wide bandage here, even at the narrowest point, it's still a good 1.5 inches wide, but now we're nice and wide. So I can work this around. And if you pull tighter, it's gonna start tightening up. And then you can either hold this or just wrap your end around here. So I do think this is more of a pressure bandage, but for someone who's got smaller arms, I think this option would work. Now to make a true tourniquet, I do feel like you need some kind of windlass to make it spin, something to turn to tighten up. So let's talk about that. All right, so to make a true better tourniquet, I feel like you do need a windlass. So I'm using just a piece of wood that I literally just went in my wood pile and picked up. So you could use anything. You could use a pocket knife, you could use a screwdriver. It needs to be something firm. There's videos, pictures of people doing pins and stuff like that. I think it'll break, so you gotta do this one over here. All right, so for this one, the wound's here. Tie just a simple overhand knot. Put your windlass, whatever you're making is a stick, pencil, pocket knife, whatever you want to use. I'm not going to use a good pocket knife because you're not going to get it back. There again, same thing we were talking about earlier. Have the bystander hold pressure here, or you put your knee over here to hold pressure while you're making this tourniquet. So we're going to tie it. Okay, so I just tied another overhand knot here, and now you can use your windlass to turn, and now you've made a much better tourniquet than the pressure bandage we had on the arm. So you can see I'm deforming my little plastic guy's leg. So we still keep this bandage wide right here. We have it about inch and a half, maybe even 2 inches wide in some area. It does get kind of narrow up here, but you can turn it. Now the only issue I have with this one is trying to get it from unwinding, because I let go, it's going to want to unwind on itself. So there again, either you're going to have to hold pressure here. Once I get the tourniquet held tight, I'm just going to hold it until first responders arrive. You can get another bystander to hold pressure. Like, look, you hold this stick right here, don't let it unwind. There are some things where you can, if you had enough material, obviously you could tie another knot in it and keep it from unspinning. But I'm just trying to use limited resources here. So I do think probably the best thing would be either just to hold the windlass here or get a bystander to hold it. Another thing to think about here too is if it's too high up and you can't get a tourniquet up around it, say up here into the hip, up into the shoulder, then absolutely I would just take their t-shirt off. And a mistake people make is they just put the t-shirt on and all you're doing is soaking up the blood. So for me, up here in the hip, shoulder where I could not get a tourniquet, then I'm going to take their t-shirt off and I'm going to put it down into the wound as much as I can and then hold pressure. When I say hold pressure, I'm talking about like put your whole body weight into it for a good 5 minutes. If you just put it on top, then all you're doing is soaking up the blood that's coming out of the wound. So if you get it down in there, you can help with the clotting process, and I believe that's a much better effect. So even the shoulder up here, put as much gauze into the wound and hold pressure. Now if it's in the chest area, we don't wound pack that, we just seal it up. So if you just had a hand, then I would put my hand on it. If you had some kind of plastic, you can make a chest seal. That's for another video. But you guys for watching. You never know when you'll be the first responder. You're in the right gear and the right training. Eddie here appreciates the right training. So if you don't want to improvise a tourniquet, you can go to shop.SkinnyMedic.com. We have several good commercial tourniquets on there that help support the channel. We appreciate it. So thank you guys for watching. You never know when you'll be the first responder. We're in the right gear and the right training. Eddie appreciates the training. So thank you